Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. It is currently June of 2022, meaning that the channel is now 28 months old. For the past bunch of creator updates, I've used the first portion of this video to go over Disney news. This month, I think we probably won't touch on too much Disney news. There wasn't anything that I really wanted to talk about in depth, so instead we're going to talk about authenticity. Then of course we'll move on to stats for the month and the lifetime of the channel. Stay tuned. Very briefly, we won't ignore all of the Disney news, so excitingly for many of you, Victoria & Albert's is opening back up. That is a fine dining restaurant experience over in the Grand Floridian, and the Hoop-Dee-Doo reservations are also now open. On the Disney Vacation Club side of things, I wanted to touch on a lack of news really, which is, I think towards the end of April, we were told that Top of the World Lounge would be opening soon, and to the best of my knowledge, and I've checked the DVC website and I've checked various news outlets, we haven't heard anything about that. It's at least 6 weeks later now, I believe. It would be nice to get that update, and I'm personally curious and a little bit worried about if they're going to restrict Top of the World Lounge access to any subset of members, but only time will tell. I just think it's really interesting that, you know, near the end of April they teased it, and to the best of my knowledge, we haven't heard anything yet, and now it's mid-June. As always, if there's other Disney news you want to chat about, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Moving on from news, the topic we'll focus on prior to stats for this monthly creator update will be authenticity. This is a topic I've seen come up in some of the content creator circles that I participate in very loosely, and also I have had a couple of private messages or emails, something like that, asking me basically, do I think I am who I appear to be on YouTube? I obviously can't speak for any other content creators, but I wanted to touch on this topic for myself. These videos, the monthly creator updates, are not scripted. For the news portion or whatever I'm going to do in the front half of the video, I do have like a very brief bullet pointed list laid out usually of things I want to touch on. Then for the stats portions of the video, of course I have to pull the stats before I start filming, but otherwise the rest is also pretty unscripted. So these videos are probably the most like quote unquote authentic that you see me on YouTube. The information heavy videos are heavily scripted because I don't want to get anything wrong, so I do spend quite a lot of time more or less writing those out. Like, they're usually more than just a bullet pointed list. Doing that prep work also allows me to sort of speed through things very quickly, which I know some people hate, but that kind of is the ethos of my channel, is like, let's just get to the facts, let's cut out all of the other nonsense, you know, this doesn't need to be a 45-minute video, let's make it a 12-minute video. If I wasn't doing that prep work and scripting things, I think it would be a much more like weaving kind of conversation feel, and it would take a long time to get to all of the facts, and they maybe wouldn't be presented in what I consider to be such a logical manner. I don't necessarily think that means those are not authentic. Like, when I'm doing work presentations, when I presented my science in the past, that is also how I approach it. For those of you not in the science fields, when you're going to scientific conferences, if you don't have a big plenary talk, if you get like a normal featured talk, you usually only have 10 to 12 minutes to present often what is like 3 years worth of work and data. So it is usually pretty quick, fast-paced, and you're assuming a certain competency level of your audience in that they can keep up. They will be able to go through the data with you as long as you're showing them what they need to see and you're highlighting the key points verbally. So I do think the way that I present information-heavy content on YouTube is authentic to the way that I do it for work. And then there's two other types of videos basically on the channel. There's like the reaction videos that are usually my partner and myself. And while those are not scripted as heavily, we do sort of have an idea of what we want to touch on. So for example, in the recent food and wine recap reflections video, you know, before we filmed that, a few days before probably, we said, hey, I want to hit on highlights, I want to hit on lowlights, and I want to hit on best values. We both went off separately and made our lists. We do not talk about what we're going to say before we film the video to try to keep the reactions more authentic, but of course, I mean, we live with each other, we're basically best friends, so I have a good idea of what my partner's gonna say, they have a good idea of what I'm gonna say, but, you know, nothing's really confirmed till we get to filming. So that is authentic in reactions, but again, even though it's not fully scripted, we do both have like bullet pointed lists of things that we want to hit. And then the other type of video on the channel now is vlogs. Those are, I would say, pretty fully authentic. I mean, it's a vlog. You can't really do much about that. There's no scripting, obviously. But in any given day of like, we're going to the parks, I know what we're doing. I probably know what I want to film. So even though it's not scripted or I don't have a bullet pointed list written out, I can anticipate what the day is going to be, usually with the exception of surprises like, oh, a cavalcade's coming or whatever. And I know roughly how I want to tell that story. And I personally don't go live on my YouTube channel. I know some other people do, and a lot of people feel like live is like the most authentic you can be. And I'm not disagreeing, but I would argue that, again, for many creators, when you go live, you still have like a bullet pointed list of things you want to hit on. So to some degree, I would argue all content creators are presenting themselves through a filter, through YouTube. And if you're live, you can't really edit it per se, but in any other type, you do get to edit it. So even these monthly creator update videos, like, I don't do them in one shot. I don't do it in one take necessarily. I do mess up my words. I do have to redo bits. Sometimes I go on a rant and I'm like, that was too much, so we just redo it. So even in the things that feel the most authentic and the least scripted, it is still being edited or filtered to some extent. So yes, I do think I present a quote-unquote authentic version of myself on YouTube, but I just also want to emphasize I truly believe all content creators have some sort of filter between the audience and them. There are absolutely ways that I differ in real life. For example, I curse a ton. I swear all the time. I obviously don't do that on YouTube. And outside of that, I just don't really talk about Disney a ton in my day-to-day life with most of my friends. I have a lot of other interests. We spend much more time talking about sports and music and our jobs and friends and happy hours, whatever. Like, Disney doesn't come up that often, so you're really only seeing a portion of me and my personality, I would argue, on the YouTube channel, and it's not even like a majority portion. It's a pretty minor sliver, I would say. And I have made genuine friends through content creation, whether it be other content creators or people who have just interacted with me a ton on Twitter and on YouTube, not really on Instagram because I'm not good at Instagram, as we've all discussed. So it's not that you can't take it from this like filtered world to a more real, authentic version of you. You absolutely can. But I think just relying on the content that's being put out is like, it's not fake. I don't want to say it's fake, but it's definitely not 100% truthful. It's not a good representation of everything that person is about. There's so much about me and my opinions and my viewpoints and my morals and things that get me fired up that you cannot know just from watching the YouTube videos. That being said, I do think authenticity is important. I think most content creators, especially, not the mega massive ones, but your medium to small size ones, do try to come off authentic. That's part of the reason why we do this, is to find that community. It's hard to find a community if you're being fake. So, I mean, I have met folks before who knew me only via the internet on YouTube before, and we met in real life, and they've said, yeah, I am what you get. Like, YouTube is not a lie. I very much am the same person, other than maybe the swearing and the other interests. But I try to be authentic. I try not to, morph myself to fit some sort of narrative for YouTube. Certainly when I'm presenting opinions, those are genuinely the opinions I hold. They're not things I'm saying just to get views or likes or subscribers or anything like that. So to the extent possible, I think most content creators, smaller, especially maybe the big megastars, I don't know about that, but most normal content creators who maybe this isn't their full-time job, or even the mid-sized ones where it is their full-time job, but they're not raking in, millions of subs and God knows how much money. I do think you get a fairly authentic view of who they are, but you still just have to know that that's through a filter, it's through a lens, literally, and it's not their whole self. And particularly for YouTube, if you aren't going live and paying attention to a live chat, it is kind of a static one-way situation where I'm filming, I'm editing, I'm posting content, and then you all can react to it, and some of you comment, and I try to comment back and carry on an internet conversation, but it's certainly not the same as if we were grabbing a coffee together, just having a naturally flowing conversation, per se. Overall, I think I am slightly different than I present on YouTube. I have a pretty dry sense of humor. I curse a ton. I don't tend to talk about Disney a ton. We talk a lot more about other topics. But I think, I try to present the same ethos. I think, I am who I am. I stick to my opinions. I am pretty fact-driven. I do talk very fast in real life. All those things are still true. If you are a content creator, I hope you value authenticity to the extent that you can present yourself authentically. Again, obviously, there's always a filter, a lens, and things that you're going to keep to yourself. I don't share my workplace, I don't share my last name, we don't share my dog's name, for example. There is privacy concerns that you also have to deal with that you're usually not guarding so heavily if you're having a conversation with a colleague or a friend. And if you aren't a content creator, but you do consuming YouTube content, again, I would just say, maybe not be wary. Wary is probably a little bit of a strong word, but just know that everyone you're watching is probably doing their best to put their true selves forward, but there still are things that you're just never going to learn through a YouTube channel about that person. And not gonna lie, I am pretty nervous to post this because it obviously opens up a potential world of comments of other people commenting on their perception of my, authenticity, which is not my favorite thought, but I have gotten a couple questions about it, and I've seen it come up quite a bit in the past maybe 6 weeks or so with a bunch of the content creators I follow, so I just wanted to address it. I wanted you to hear it from me. I think that I do my best to stay true to myself, but this is just only one version, one slice, one look at me, and it is heavily edited. Let's move on to talk about stats then. Before we get into the monthly stats themselves, I want to talk about the top videos because this is going to change basically all of the stats. The top video for this month was a short of just some close-up of the food we ate when we went to Satu'li Canteen, and it got almost 10,000 views. For reference, a normal short for me gets probably like 30 to 50 views, so this is bonkers. This is now my second highest video for the lifetime of the channel, so I don't know what happened. It got picked up by the YouTube algorithm and promoted in people scrolling through their shorts feeds. Almost all of these views came within like a day and a half. It definitely wasn't like a trickling thing. It was like a spike and then it went way back down. So yeah, when you get almost 10,000 views on one video, it skews the stats for the month. You can see that my next highest video is that standard PhotoPass video, and it only got about 350 views. It's pretty different. And for the rest of the top videos of the month, there's a little bit of DVC content, quite a lot of room tours. There is one Disneyland vlog coming in the 10th spot, so it's nice to see some people are enjoying the vlogs, even though I know they're not terribly popular. I will say I did recently post a room tour of where we stayed when we went to Disneyland. It was the Hilton Garden Inn over on Manchester, and that doesn't have a ton of views yet. I am hopeful, though, that it trends like the rest of these room tours, where it's kind of more quote-unquote evergreen content, where people continue to watch it even long after I post it. I actually really liked that hotel, and I think if the rates are good, I hope people will stay there, because I thought it was a really good compromise between being close to the parks and not necessarily overpaying to be super close to the parks or to stay in the Disney bubble. Anyway, as we move through the monthly stats for sure, and even to some extent the lifetime stats, just keep in mind that there was this one short that got picked up by the algorithm. It got almost 10,000 views in like 2 days. I have no understanding of why that happened. It seems completely random to me. I cannot logic my way through it. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm very grateful, but it's definitely changed the way the month looks compared to most months. For example, this month we got over 15,000 views, which is by far a record. Without that one short, we got, 5,000 views or so, which is pretty normal, I would say. So I'm glad the normal videos are doing normal, and then we just got this huge boost from the Satu'li Canteen short. And obviously with one short reaching almost 10,000 people, we also had a ridiculous record number of unique viewers at over 12,000. It's really hard to comprehend that when, normally like 4,000 unique viewers I'm pretty happy with, and now it's 3 times that amount. We are on the downtrend for returning viewers, though. We had 357 this month. For those of you who are coming back, I so appreciate you interacting with the channel, liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, ringing the bell icon to receive notifications, and sharing with your friends. But yeah, it seems like we peaked 2 months ago at 437 returning viewers, and it's just been a little bit of a downslope since then. And despite having 15,000 views, we did not have a record number of watch hours this month. It did increase compared to last month, and we're at 500 watch hours on the month, which for me is like definitely above average and pretty good, no complaining. But obviously, even though a short has 10,000 views, it's, a few seconds per view on average, I would guess. I think the total short was only like 30 seconds long. So yeah, it's just not going to add up to a ton of watch hours. Impressions from YouTube did decrease a teeny tiny bit from last month. I thought this was interesting because I would have thought with such a high number of views on that short and such a high number of unique viewers that my impressions maybe would have exploded, but it's pretty much the same as last month. So it turns out I don't really understand impressions, and maybe I need to do some reading into that. And similarly, the impressions from YouTube is just barely down from last month, but it's essentially the same. It's still above 30%, which I think for me is like my happy range, is if we can stay over 30% in any given month, I feel pretty good about that. Watch time from those not subscribed finally improved. It's been a few months since we've seen this improve, so we are just under 75% now, meaning 25% of my watch time is coming from subscribers. Thanks again. But we didn't have the best month for subscribers. We only got 25 new subscribers this month. That is less than 1 per day. It's not bad. It's not a terrible month. It's just not great. And certainly if we want to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, if we continue to have months in the 25 range, it's going to be very, very close. Moving away from YouTube for a second, over on Twitter, I am now following 1,067 accounts and 920 accounts are following me. And on Instagram, I am following 477 accounts and 329 are following me. Looking at the lifetime of the channel, last month we had just under 85,000 lifetime views. This month that exploded, obviously, so we are actually approaching 100,000 views, which I didn't think we would be talking about for a few more months, so that's pretty exciting. And that has resulted in over 8,000 total watch hours for the lifetime of the channel. The channel now has over 1,100,000 impressions, and 28.4% of those are coming from YouTube. Again, this is a very slow growing stat, but I am still very happy to see it moving up little by little, month by month. Watch time from those not subscribed for the lifetime of the channel is 70.5%. This has been pretty stable around like the very high 60% to the very low 70% for like over a year. So this kind of just is what it is, I think. In total, we now have 850 subscribers. Very grateful to have hit that milestone, but we still do have a chunk of a ways to go before we hit that magic 1,000 number. Comparing month 28 to month 27, it's a more normal comparison where some stats are up, some stats are down. So obviously views was way, way, way up. Watch hours was a little bit up, which was great. And even, you know, discounting the short itself, percent view duration went up. So I'm excited to see that. I don't think that the short would have influenced that so much. The number of impressions and the impressions from YouTube are down. They're not down a ton, so it's not a huge deal. But the watch time from those not subscribed is improved compared to last month, meaning more of my watch time is coming from subscribers, and I did have more watch hours this month, so I think that is trending in the right direction, which is exciting. But we did get less subscribers this month than last month, so, you know, even if one of your shorts takes off, it's not necessarily going to convert subscribers. We talk about this all the time. Converting subscribers is a mystery and the hardest thing, and of course it's a bummer to see that go down. And really for me, it's a bummer to not have at least one a day. I think that's kind of the baseline that I want to be achieving, and just didn't happen this month. So, you know, hopefully next month goes better. Coming up on the channel, admittedly, I am woefully behind. Basically, it's been a pretty hard 6 weeks or so for us. My partner got sick, and then we had a smattering of days where we were both healthy and we took a weekend away, and then I got sick and I'm like just now recovering. And then outside of that, in work life, like mid-May through mid-June is a very tough time at my job every year, so I've just been swamped. I like to be, you know, 2 to 3 full videos ahead of schedule, and that's definitely not happening. But for the upcoming month, I do think I'll still be able to post once a week. I'm not sure about shorts. For a long time, I've been posting 2 shorts a week. I dropped that down to 1 a week sometime during this last monthly period because I just couldn't keep up. So I'm hoping to still do at least 1 a week for the next month or so, but we'll just have to see. Topic-wise, though, for videos in the next month, you can expect to hear from my partner and I reflecting on table service dining at Walt Disney World, very similar to the Food and Wine Festival video we did where we're talking about highlights, lowlights, best value. We'll also add in some of the table service dining that we've done prior to this trip, because I don't think we repeated anything. I think we went to all new places this trip, but obviously there's some places that we've been to in the past that we like a lot, so we wanted to throw those in the mix. And then also have a pack with me / trip announcement video. Don't get too excited, but I don't know, there's something fun about pack with me's that I just really enjoy, so I'm gonna post it even though I know they're not like the most viewed. I have filmed a prep with me for Disneyland as a Walt Disney Worlder video series. It's 2 parts. So the first part will get posted this monthly period. I think the second part will get posted the next monthly period. It's very much just taking you through my brainscape and like how I logicked my way through Disneyland and how I planned it. So this first part, I think we're talking about hotels, transportation, and dining. And then the second video, which will be in the next monthly period, we'll talk about technology and attractions. So it's not like a full overview of everything you need to know about Disneyland by any means, but it's a lot of things that sort of tripped me up. It's kind of a warning, essentially, for anyone trying to go to Disneyland that maybe is normally only going to Disney World and like thinks it'll be smooth, easy, perfect transitions. Not really like what I found. And then we'll have a room tour of an off-site Good Neighbor hotel down in the Walt Disney World area. Work should slow down after this week, I hope. So I'm excited to be able to spend a little bit more time on the channel, get ahead and tackle some topics that have been very long promised. I hope you all are staying safe, healthy, and well. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.